Hong Kong, July 2016. At 17 years old, he is standing on one of the most surveilled pieces of ground on Earth. Behind him, his teachers, his handlers, his country. Ahead of him, a glass building guarded by diplomats, cameras, and laws that don't belong to him. He has no passport in his pocket, no phone, no one waiting for him on the other side. Only a single decision. If he turns back, his future is already written. A life owned by the state, his talent extracted, his freedom erased. If he takes one more step forward, he may disappear forever. Not just himself, but everyone connected to him. This is not a prison break. This is not a chase. This is the moment a North Korean teenager, raised to calculate perfectly, decides to gamble everything on a margin of error measured in seconds. This is the true story of Ri Jong-yeol, the math prodigy who walked away from his country in broad daylight. He was born in North Korea, into a country where most lives follow a narrow, predetermined path. Very little about Ri Jong-yeol's early life is publicly known, and that silence is intentional. In North Korea, anonymity is protection. But what is known is this. From a young age, Ri showed exceptional ability in mathematics, a skill the state actively searches for and carefully controls. In North Korea, talent is never accidental. Children who demonstrate unusual aptitude are identified early, separated into specialized schools, and trained under constant evaluation. Advancement is not framed as personal achievement, but as usefulness. To excel is to become visible, and visibility comes with scrutiny. Mathematics occupies a special place in this system. It is clean, measurable, and politically safe on the surface. But it also leads somewhere specific. Engineers, analysts, researchers, roles that serve the state quietly, efficiently, and without question. By his mid-teens, Ri had risen far enough to represent North Korea internationally. He was selected for the International Mathematical Olympiad, an event few North Koreans are ever permitted to attend. The selection was an honor and a tightening grip. Traveling abroad did not mean freedom. It meant rules. North Korean students sent overseas do not move independently. They travel in groups. They are supervised at all times. Their schedules are controlled, their conversations monitored, their movements accounted for. Even abroad, they remain inside the system. In July 2016, that system brought Ri to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was not chosen for its openness. It was chosen because it was still Chinese territory, close, familiar, and legally complicated. For North Korea, it felt safer than the West. For Ri, it was something else entirely. For the first time in his life, he was surrounded by people who moved without permission. But leaving during an overseas trip is almost impossible. Defection requires more than courage. It requires a precise moment, separation from supervisors, access to a diplomatic mission, and the willingness to accept consequences that cannot be reversed. Legally, Hong Kong sits in a dangerous gray zone. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees. Defectors are routinely repatriated. Stepping out of line does not guarantee safety. It can accelerate capture. That is what makes Ri's decision extraordinary. Sometime during the trip, he broke from supervision. He did not run. He did not cause a scene. He walked quietly, deliberately, toward the Consulate General of South Korea, Hong Kong. When the doors closed behind him, the waiting began. In North Korea, talent is not discovered by chance. It is identified, measured, and claimed. From an early age, children are tested continuously, not just for knowledge, but for usefulness. Those who show unusual ability in mathematics or science are separated quietly from their peers and moved into a different educational stream. Not announced, not celebrated, just redirected. This process is framed as opportunity. In reality, it is filtration. Elite schools exist for one purpose: to concentrate ability where it can be watched. Advancement comes with better resources, stronger instruction, and greater expectation, but also tighter control. Students learn early that excellence does not belong to them. It belongs to the state. Mathematics holds a unique position inside the system. It is objective. Answers are either right or wrong. There is no room for ideology inside an equation, and that makes it valuable. Math can be tested internationally, compared globally, displayed as proof that the system works. But there is another reason it matters. Mathematical skill leads somewhere. Engineering, cryptography, ballistics, computing, careers that do not appear on propaganda posters, but quietly sustain the regime. By the time a student reaches adolescence, the path has already narrowed. Continued advancement depends on discipline, loyalty, and silence. International competition becomes the final stage of validation, not for the student, but for the country. To be chosen to represent North Korea abroad is rare. To be chosen repeatedly marks someone as exceptional and permanently visible. These students do not travel as individuals. They travel as assets. Every movement accounted for. Every interaction filtered. Success is rewarded with further responsibility, not freedom. And once the state has invested this much, it does not let go easily. For students like Ri Jong-yeol, brilliance was not an escape route. It was a tightening loop, one that only becomes visible when the outside world finally comes into view. By the time Ri Jong-yeol reached his mid-teens, his ability was no longer a promise. It was a record. He had represented North Korea in international mathematics competitions, including the International Mathematical Olympiad, an arena where performance is publicly ranked, archived, and remembered. Each appearance placed his name on a list that few North Koreans ever enter, and none ever leave unnoticed. In most countries, academic success is a personal milestone. In North Korea, it is a signal. Every medal, every score, every ranking becomes part of an internal assessment. How useful this person may become and where they might be placed. Excellence does not open doors. It narrows them. The more visible Ri became, the fewer futures were available to him. International competition also carries a specific meaning inside the regime. It is not exposure for the student, it is exposure for the system. Each participant is a moving demonstration, evidence that the country can produce minds capable of competing with the world. That is why supervision intensifies with success. Students selected for repeated overseas representation are watched more closely, briefed more thoroughly, and reminded constantly of what is at stake. They are expected to behave not as teenagers, but as extensions of the state. Failure brings consequences, but success brings expectations. There is no point at which a gifted student is asked what they want. The path continues forward, mapped by performance, loyalty, and silence. By the time adulthood approaches, placement is no longer a choice, it is an assignment. For Ri, mathematics had opened the world just enough for him to see it, and just enough for the system to tighten its grip. The higher he rose, the clearer it became. Brilliance was not protection. It was ownership. International travel is one of the rarest privileges a North Korean citizen can receive. For students like Ri Jong-yeol, it arrives wrapped in ceremony, official letters, formal briefings, and repeated warnings about behavior beyond the border. The message is always the same: you are leaving the country, but the country is not leaving you. North Korean delegations abroad operate under strict rules. Students do not travel alone. They move as a group under the watch of supervisors whose role extends far beyond academics. Schedules are fixed. Meals are coordinated. Free time is limited, often non-existent. Even moments meant for rest are accounted for. Conversation with outsiders is discouraged. Unscheduled movement is forbidden. Privacy is a liability. The goal is simple: ensure that no one forgets where they belong. In July 2016, that system brought Ri to Hong Kong for an international mathematics competition. On paper, Hong Kong was a safe choice. It was prosperous and international, but still Chinese territory, a place where North Korean officials believed control could be maintained. But Hong Kong operates by a different rhythm. Here people move independently. They enter buildings without permission. They disappear into crowds without explanation. The city does not ask where you are going or why. For someone raised in a system of constant oversight, that contrast is impossible to ignore. Still, leaving during an overseas trip is extraordinarily difficult. Students are rarely out of sight. Defection requires more than desire. It requires timing, separation, and the willingness to act without reassurance that safety exists on the other side. One misstep can trigger immediate detention. One delay can close the window entirely. And beyond that looms a deeper risk. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees. Those caught outside diplomatic protection are often returned. In that system, hesitation can be fatal. By the time Ri recognized what this trip represented, the opportunity was already shrinking. Freedom was nearby, but so was everything he had ever known. The question was no longer whether he could leave, it was whether he would. There was no signal, no countdown, no moment of confirmation that this was the right choice. For Ri Jong-yeol, the decision did not arrive with certainty, it arrived with urgency. Breaking away from supervision is not dramatic. It is quiet, a delay, a turn taken alone, a few minutes unaccounted for. In a system built on constant presence, even a short absence is dangerous. Questions are asked quickly, alarms follow. Ri did not run. Running draws attention. He walked through a city that did not know who he was, carrying no documents that proved his identity, no passport that allowed him to cross borders, and no legal protection if he was stopped. In that moment, he was not a student, not a competitor, not even a citizen in the conventional sense. He was stateless. The destination mattered. Entering the wrong building would change nothing. Approaching the wrong authority could end everything. Only one place offered a narrow form of protection. Not freedom, but time. The Consulate General of South Korea, Hong Kong. Seeking asylum inside a foreign consulate is not an escape. It is a legal suspension, a pause created by international norms that do not always hold. Outside those walls, Chinese jurisdiction still applies. Inside them, negotiations begin. When Ri stepped through the entrance, he crossed no border recognized by law. But the consequences were immediate. The doors closed behind him, and with that, his return became impossible. What followed was not rescue. It was waiting. Waiting for diplomats to speak in careful language. Waiting while governments calculated risk. Waiting while the question of his future moved far beyond his control. From that moment on, time itself became the danger, and every passing day increased the cost of the decision he had already made. Inside the consulate, the world slowed to a crawl. For Ri Jong-yeol, there was no sense of progress, only suspension. He was no longer visible on the streets of Hong Kong, but he was far from safe. The protection of a consulate is not absolute. It is conditional, fragile, and political. Outside those walls, pressure began to build. North Korea demanded his return. China faced a familiar dilemma. South Korea entered a negotiation that could not be made public. China does not recognize North Koreans as refugees. Officially, they are considered economic migrants, a definition that allows for forced repatriation. In most cases, that is exactly what happens. Once returned, defectors disappear into a system designed to punish not just the individual, but anyone connected to them. Hong Kong complicated this reality. It was Chinese territory, but with its own legal sensitivities and international visibility. Any decision made here would be watched. Any mistake would echo. For 70 days, Ri remained inside a diplomatic limbo. There were no headlines announcing his name, no public countdown, no guarantee of outcome. Each day increased the risk that patience would run out, or that a quiet decision would be made without him in the room. Waiting became its own form of pressure. The longer he stayed, the higher the stakes grew, not just for him, but for every government involved. A successful defection could encourage others. A forced return would send a different message entirely. Behind closed doors, language was measured carefully. Publicly, almost nothing was said. For Ri, the mathematics of survival had changed. There were no equations to solve, no answers to check. The outcome depended on forces he could not see, in conversations he would never hear. All he could do was remain where he was, and wait for a decision that would define the rest of his life. Defection is often described as an act of courage. What is spoken about less is what it leaves behind. For Ri Jong-yeol, choosing not to return did not end his connection to North Korea. It severed it, violently and permanently. In North Korea, punishment does not stop with the individual. The system is built on association. Families share responsibility. Loyalty is enforced across generations. This policy, known as collective or kin punishment, is designed to make escape unthinkable by extending consequences outward. That reality shadows every defection. Those who leave understand that they may never see their families again. They understand that silence may be the only protection they can offer the people they love. Even after reaching safety, many defectors avoid public attention, avoid details, avoid speaking at all. Freedom in this context is not clean. Stories like this are rarely told all the way through. If you want to keep hearing the ones that slip through closed systems and never make headlines, you can subscribe here. We'll keep looking where others don't. It comes with guilt, with uncertainty, with the knowledge that one life may move forward while others remain trapped. For gifted defectors, the burden can be heavier. Their value to the state was never symbolic. It was functional. Walking away is not just betrayal of ideology, it is the loss of an investment. That is why so many details of Ri's life disappear from public view after Hong Kong. Not because his story ended, but because telling it further could put others at risk. What he gained was safety. What he lost was everything familiar. And that trade never stops echoing. Even in freedom, the past remains close, not as memory, but as responsibility. When the decision finally came, it did not arrive with ceremony. After 70 days of silence and negotiation, Ri Jong-yeol was allowed to leave Hong Kong and travel onward to South Korea. The transition was quiet, deliberate, and controlled. There were no cameras waiting, no public statements made in his name. Safety came first. Visibility did not. Arrival, for defectors, is not an ending. It is a transfer from one system into another, unfamiliar, overwhelming, and irreversible. Like all North Korean defectors, Ri entered a structured resettlement process designed to prepare him for life outside the regime. This included time at Hanawan, a government facility where newcomers are taught everything from basic finance to how to use a smartphone, how to navigate public transportation, how to live without constant surveillance. For someone who had spent his life inside rigid control, freedom required instruction. Even simple choices, what to eat, where to go, what to say, carried weight. Outside North Korea, no one issued commands. No one monitored his schedule. That absence for many defectors is as destabilizing as captivity once was. Brilliance does not erase this adjustment. Academic ability may open doors, but it does not soften the psychological distance between two worlds shaped by opposite rules. The outside does not immediately feel real. Trust does not arrive on schedule. Identity must be rebuilt slowly, without guidance. For Ri, public life ended where safety began. His story did not continue in interviews or speeches. It receded into privacy, a choice shared by many whose freedom depends on remaining unseen. The world he had entered offered possibility, but it did not offer closure. That too would have to be learned. If this story surprised you, if the idea that a single teenager could slip through one of the world's most controlled systems felt impossible, then understand this. That same system once tried to move fighter jets and hidden weapons through the Panama Canal, buried beneath tons of cargo, hoping no one would look too closely. They failed, and what was found aboard the Chongchong gang revealed just how far North Korea is willing to go to keep its secrets moving. That story is next.